everybody. Like I was saying before, it's an honor and a privilege to speak for young men and women of athletes and musicians. These extracurricular activities become more whenever we come together and have this discipline and responsibility of showing up to practice and competitiveness and teamwork, right? It's these extracurricular activities that go unseen sometimes, but there's always someone watching. It's these activities that make people want to come to Sierra, so we appreciate you all. That's why us as a coaching staff hold you all to a higher standard, because not only are you representing yourself, you're representing your family, and you're representing Sierra Eagles. Okay? So we face a lot of adversity this year, so go ahead and give yourself a round of applause for it. Before we get into the awards of these students, we would like to recognize our coaching staff. So for girls basketball, we had Coach Barola and Coach Gilbert. Let's go ahead and give them a For coaching volleyball, we had Coach Fajardo and Coach Griffin. Coaching football, we had myself, I'm Coach Williams, and as well as Coach Paxson. For track, we had Coach Griffin and Coach Patterson. For our music team, we had in charge of choir, we had Mrs. Fuss. Leading our band, we had Mrs. Gomez. In charge of orchestra, we had Dr. Montgomery. Oh, as well, we also had an orchestra, Mr. Green, as well. Coaching soccer, we also had Coach Fajardo. And coaching boys basketball, we had Mr. Vigil and Coach Davis. We appreciate you, coaches. Y'all did a great job this year, so congrats. Now we're going to get into the portion where we talk about you all. So remember, make sure you stand up, head to the middle, make sure you wave to all the people that are watching on KSVPT or KSVP. And those parents are the ones that made everything possible as well. So let's give them a round of applause too. They were a big part in your all's responsibility of showing up to practice, so make sure once you receive those awards, you wave at them, okay? So, let's go ahead and get started. First off, we have Josiah Alvarez. A football team, a soccer team, and a sports medal. Second, we have Nevea Alides. Choir. Next, receiving a bar for 2 years in choir, Natalie Alonso. Receiving a bar as well for 3 years in choir, we have Valerie Amaya. Receiving a bar for football, basketball, and a pin for choir, we have Frankie Anaya. Receiving a sports letter, a cheer pin, and a bar for 3 years in choir, we have Brianna Andazova. Receiving a sports letter as well as a soccer pin, we have Tavian Arroyo. Receiving a sports letter as well as a basketball pin, we have Cassandra Barraza. Receiving a sports letter and a pin for cheer and volleyball, we have Azalea Benitez. Receiving a bar in volleyball, basketball, and music, we have Alexis Barola. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in basketball, Zeke Barola. Receiving a bar in football, track, basketball, and a bar for being 3 years in band, we have Zai Carrasco. Receiving a bar for 3 years in choir, we have Orlando Carrillo. Receiving a bar in volleyball, basketball, and 2 years in choir, we have Kayla Chavez. Receiving a sports letter, a basketball pin, and a band pin, we have William Chavez. A bar for 3 years in band, Xavier Cheney. A sports letter as well as a soccer pin, we have Itzel Coronel. I believe receiving a pin in track, we have David Crenshaw. Awarded a pin in soccer as well as a sports letter, Jennifer Diaz. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin for basketball, Josiah Diaz. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin for soccer, track, and basketball, we have Julissa Duran. Receiving a sports letter in basketball and football, Brendan Duran. Receiving a sports letter, a bar in cheer, and a bar for participating in choir for 3 years, Viviana Estrada. Receiving a bar for his track participation, Austin Estrella. Receiving a bar for participating in band for 3 years, William Flagg.
Great honor and humility that I come up here to accept this award for being the most goodest band boy of them all. I'd like to thank a few people in my life, such as my mother and father, wouldn't be here without them, and the excellent teachers and the little clubs who got me where I am today. Not that those are mutually exclusive, so from bottom of my heart, thank you.
Attaboy, William. That was great. All right, back to the show. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in soccer, Michael Flores. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in soccer and a pin in choir, Raul Gonzalez Juarez. Receiving a sports letter, a pin in soccer, and a bar for participating in band for 3 years, Gabriela Gallegos. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin for 1 year in choir, Pharaoh Garcia. Receiving a sports letter for football, Joe Garcia. Receiving a sports letter and a pin in basketball, Josiah Garcia. Receiving a bar for participating for 3 years in music, Adamari Gaitan. Receiving a bar for his participation for 2 years in choir, Nehemiah Getty. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in football, soccer, track, and basketball, Damian Gonzalez. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in soccer, Jose Gonzalez. Receiving a bar for participating 3 years in band, Yair Gonzalez. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin for 1 year participation in choir, Raul Gonzalez Juarez. Receiving a bar for her participation 3 years in choir, we have Alyssa Lopez. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in track, Marco Gomez Vital. Receiving a bar in music, Daniel Rose. Receiving a pin for 1 year participation in choir, Jacob Griffin. Receiving a letter in sports and a pin in track, Ezekiel Houghton. Receiving a manager pin for football and a bar for 3 years in choir, Madison Hardy. Receiving a bar for 3 years in band, Jacob Hardwick. Receiving a letter and a pin for football, Daniel Hernandez. Receiving a bar for his 3 years of service to choir, Drake Hudson. Receiving his sports letter as well as a pin in football, soccer, and track, Stephen Huereque. Receiving a bar in music, Eliza Jacobs. Also receiving a bar in music, Alyssa Jaramillo. Receiving a bar for 3 years in band, Tervin Jones. Ivan, excuse me. Receiving his sports letter and a pin in basketball, Joaquin Kalunki. Receiving his sports letter as well as a pin in football, Caden Lopez. Receiving a pin in soccer, a bar in volleyball, and a bar in basketball, Nila Lovato. Receiving a sports letter and a pin in basketball, Dominic Lucero. Awarded a sports letter as well as a basketball pin, Benjamin Lueras. Receiving a bar for her 3 years of participation in choir, Anaí Lujan. Receiving a sports letter and a pin in basketball, track, and football, Nathaniel Lujan. Receiving a sports letter and a pin in basketball and football, Luke Lynn. Receiving a bar in football and basketball, Noah Lynn. Awarded a sports letter as well as a pin in basketball and soccer, Leonardo Medrano. Awarded a sports letter as well as a pin in soccer and track, Diego Marmolejo. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in basketball, volleyball, and soccer, Bianca Marquez. Receiving a bar in track, basketball, and a bar for 3 years in choir, Joshua Martinez. Receiving a bar for his 3 years participation in band, Anders McDade. Awarded a sports letter as well as a pin in basketball, Matthew Meraz. Given a sports letter as well as a pin in basketball, Adina McAllister. Further Awarded a bar in music for their 3 years participation in band, Dominic Morales. Awarded a bar in music for another 3 years in band, we also have Giolina Morales. Receiving a sports letter and a pin in cheerleading and volleyball, we have Jaslyn Morales. Awarded a sports letter as well as a bar in cheer, we have Clarissa Moreno. Awarded for his 3 years participation in band, we have Omar Nevarez. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in track and soccer, Connor Nolan. For his 2 years in choir, Damian Olivas. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in soccer and track, Yair Ortega. Receiving a pin in football and a bar in basketball, Jacob Palomino. Awarded a sports letter as well as a pin for his 1 year in choir, Isaiah Palcastre. Awarded a sports letter as well as a pin in soccer, we have Sophia Palcastre. For her 3 years participation in band, she receives a bar in music, Alexis Peña. Receiving a letter as well as a pin in track, Azael Perez. Awarded a sports letter following a pin in football and soccer, we have Kevin Perez. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in track and a pin in cheerleading, we have Jimena Ponce. Receiving her sports letter as well as a pin in cheerleading, Maria Ponce. Receiving a bar for her 3 years in choir, Ariana Primera. Receiving a bar in volleyball and a bar for her 3 years participation in choir, Aubrey Prince. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in track, Luis Ramirez. Receiving a bar in music for her 3 years participation in choir, Adriana Cortez. Receiving a bar in music for 2 years in band, Devin Reed. Receiving a sports letter and a pin in soccer, Destiny Reese. Receiving a sports letter and a pin for cheerleading, Kaylani Reese. Rodriguez. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in volleyball, basketball, and cheerleading, Nevaeh Romero. Receiving a bar for her 3 years participation in band, Analicia Ruiz. Receiving a bar in basketball and football, Aiden Rutley. Awarded a sports letter as well as a pin in basketball, Carlos Salazar. Receiving a sports letter in basketball, as well as a bar in cheer, a bar in music for her 3 years participation in band, Selena Samario. Receiving a bar in music for 3 years in band, Alice Samuels. Receiving a bar in music for 2 years in band, David Sanchez. Receiving a sports letter as well as a bar in music for 2 years in choir, Miri Sanchez. Also receiving a letter as well as a bar in music for 2 years in choir, Violet Sanchez. Receiving a sports letter, a pin in football, a pin in soccer, a pin in track, and a pin in music, Sylvia Sargent. Receiving a bar in basketball, as well as a pin in track, Rylan Saracino. Receiving a bar in music for 3 years participation in band, Kaylee Scott. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in basketball, Tony Serrano. Receiving a bar in music for 3 years participation in band, Kylie Cisneros. Receiving a bar in music for 3 years in choir, Sophia Steven. Receiving a sports letter as well as a bar for 3 years in choir, Stafford Stevenson. Receiving a sports letter, a pin in track, a pin in volleyball, and the manager of basketball, Monet Stockman. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in music for her 1 year in choir, Analicia Tyreen. Receiving a bar in basketball and a pin in football, Abraham Toscano. Receiving a bar in music for 3 years in band, Tomas Tenorio. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in basketball, Kiana Thomas. Awarded a bar in music for 3 years in band, Joshua Thompson. Awarded a bar in music for 3 years in band, Soren Thorsted. Awarded a sports letter as well as a pin in basketball, Arabelle Trujillo. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in football, a pin in track, and a manager position in basketball, we have Isaiah Trujillo. Sorry about that. Awarded a sports letter as well as a pin in track, Agustin Valdez. Awarded a bar in volleyball, a pin in track, and a pin in soccer, Adriana Vargas. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in cheerleading, Marissa Vargas. Receiving a sports letter and a pin in basketball and volleyball, Adamaris Vasquez. Receiving a letter as well as a bar in music for his 3 years participation in choir, Sergio Vasquez. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in track, Carmen Villegas. Receiving a sports letter as well as a bar in basketball and a pin in volleyball, Ayana Warner. Receiving a sports letter as well as a bar in music for 3 years participation in choir, Alana Williams. Receiving a sports letter as well as a pin in volleyball, we have Denise Ibarra. Awarded a sports letter as well as a pin for 1 year in choir, Johnson Julia. Go ahead and give everybody a big round of applause for all the awards. We also want to thank each and every one of you all, and we hope that you all take that responsibility, that teamwork, and the many other things that you learned in sports and music on for the rest of your life. Remember that you are held to a higher standard because you represent more than just yourself. You represent your family, and you also represent the schools that you play for. Okay? So, without further ado, one last round of applause for each other. If your name was not called, go ahead and stay behind because we might have missed you all, so we apologize for that. But we do want to make sure that you receive your awards. So if your name was not called, make sure that you do stay behind. We are going to act like responsible young adults, and we are going to walk straight to our third period class.